Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome CM and Maggie, the Archangel and Siren of Illusions of Grandeur, a Pennsylvania-based metal band. Got some new stuff coming out, some new videos, a new album. Great stuff, guys.
Thank you.
Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. How you doing today on this final day of the regular NFL season? Being in Philly, you guys big sports fans?
Well, the Eagles play here, so no.
I was going to say they kind of got it handed to them last night by the Cowboys.
Wow. I didn't even know that. I'm not gonna
lie. Haven't watched an Eagles game in many years because it's been like the same season over and over again.
Yeah, Groundhog Day if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah. You know, just one of those things. But it is the huge Philly and expect that. But no, Sundays are production and rehearsal days for us. We're like swamped from early in the morning till just about now.
Wow. That's right. Maggie PM'd me earlier and said that you guys were rehearsing and stuff. You've got a tour coming up. Let's talk about the album came out just recently. The Siren. It follows up 2019 Songs of the Siren. It's part 2 of a 3-part saga, correct?
Yes.
And you guys are getting ready to embark on a tour in a couple of days here, starting the 13th out in Akron, Ohio. You go through Pennsylvania, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia. You're going to end up the 24th and back in Maryland again. Are things still holding good for the tour with all that's going on with everything in the world right now?
Yeah.
As far as we know, we're good.
The promoter has advanced the tour to us, and all the sites are still set and everyone's ready to go, and we're excited, and we got a couple that are near sold out, so we're really happy for that. People are, I don't know what the attendance levels they're allowing are, but either way, we're happy to just get back out on the road. And this is actually our first US tour.
Yes.
We've done.
That was going to be my question, first tour since when?
This is our first US tour ever.
Really?
We're usually,
we tour in Europe a lot, but we've done a lot of one-offs and festivals and stuff in the United States, but we've never been offered like full-on tours like this. So this is the first leg of the Sirens and Demons tour with the band Offensive, and doing with them, and we're going to be doing another one probably late 2022 again, another August or so, I think. But
in America,
we'll
be in Europe in June.
Yeah, we leave for the Ukraine, and we're in Europe and for all of June into July.
Nice. Speaking of the Ukraine, I'm going to jump around here a little bit because I wanted to talk about the album, but as long as you brought up the Ukraine, I wanted to bring up, I read where you guys now have a tree planted in your honor in a town over there in the Ukraine. It was like Illusions of Grandeur Day when you guys were over there.
Yeah, Smelia.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about that. Or when we went over there, and then we got there and we got all set up for the show, which was built around us, which we didn't know that either until we got there. And the guys are like, come on, you're in another country, so this is going to sound fun. Jump in this van with us and let's go plant this tree.
Yeah.
So outside the city hall. And it was a big event. Like they planted the Illusion Grandeur tree, and they send us photos of it every year. And, I think they're very excited to have us back on the coming through, and they put a concert on in there. It's almost like their Central Park in the town, and they erected like a big outdoor stage, and we thought it was like
something they did normally.
We thought it was something they did, and it was the first one, and they had booked us, and they were so excited just to have like a rock band come through into their town.
Wow.
And it was great. They had like a whole cultural day, like dancing, all these different like local bands, and then we headlined the festival at night, and pretty much the whole town came out.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was
it was really cool.
That wasn't the end of the baby on stage.
That was the night I got the
baby.
Didn't want to take it completely from the mom. I was like, oh, this is danger.
Danger, Rob. there's a lot of lights and smoke and stuff going on an Illusions of Grandeur. Not a place for a child.
Yeah. That's kind of reminiscent of, I'm trying to think of the town that Kiss visited way back in their early days out in Michigan. Was it Pontiac or something like that, where they got handed like the key to the city and everything?
They had, yeah. I just was listening to Paul Stanley's audiobook on the treadmill. I'm working out for the tour, and he was talking about that. Yeah, they had Kiss Day, and they were on the news and all. It was, I wouldn't say it was similar to that in any way, shape, or form, but it was definitely a shocker. Like, we were on the local news, and we planted the tree, and read some, whatever it was, proclamation. Yeah. It was fun. The Ukraine, very interesting. It's very interesting place to tour. They're very excited for any type of entertainment. There's not a lot of U.S. bands. I think it's like us, Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah.
I think a couple other.
I don't get.
There's not a lot of big bands. We're not.
Of course, Ginger's from there, but
like Kiev and Dnipro, and we're headlining Rock Balava again. In June 17th, I think.
Yeah.
It's really, the dichotomy there is, they're at war. So it's an interesting country to visit. And they're just super grateful that we show up and play. It's, we're looking forward to going back. We can't wait, but it's definitely, when you play there, you have fans. People will just become dedicated. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've always sort of marveled at that, how the European audience is just so much more rabid than the US audience. And I'm not trying to diss on the United States over there, but it's a whole other level when you get over, overseas. It
is. And that's actually funny because you said that, because I say the exact same thing. And, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody here in the States, but it's a totally different experience.
We were welcomed there with like open arms, like immediately.
Like they knew who we were already.
Yeah. And that was, and we went over fully with the expectation of, we're a new band. This is 2018 first one. We're a new band. We're going to play to some empty halls. We're going to play to, 5 people and the dog. We totally expected that. And we got the exact opposite of that. Yeah. Like 2 hours.
Very cool. Very cool. Kind of reminiscent of some of the gigs that Anvil did, that documentary on them,
yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about the Siren a little bit. It's 12 songs, almost 54 minutes. And did I hear correctly, you guys have plans to do a video for each song on the album?
That's correct.
Yeah. Wow. 5 and number 6. The most recent one is A Silence.
Yeah.
And it's our first video that's out through our label, through Universal Music, In Groove. They actually put it out, like you can see it on Roku TV and we did 4 last year.
4, yeah.
Just like during COVID, just in touch with our audience, because we're normally a road. We couldn't be on the road. Yeah. So we videos and we put them out on our YouTube channel and released like advanced singles from the album. And so we've decided that over the next year, over 2022 and into 2023, there'll be a video for each song. And then they'll all kind of link together to make a little bit like a movie.
Very cool. Now, what's your approach to videos? Are you like a do-it-yourself band? You shoot them on, I've heard some bands shoot these on iPhones and they come out looking fantastic. Or do you have like a production company you work with, or?
We're very do-it-yourself.
We from when we first started doing it, COVID was in heavy swing, so there was no one to do it. So we're here in Lancaster, and we have a couple outbuildings on the farm, is what we call it, and we green room, like a green screen room, so we could do special effects, and then we filmed out in like the mountains and fields and stuff for the first video, crossing over,
and down as well.
We did that out here too, and then we went on. So we learned how to do it ourselves, and we actually, I can't think of the Filmatic. I think
Filmatic, yeah.
Filmatic
or Filmic Pro.
Filmic Pro, something Filmic like Pro. It's an app for your phone that really turns your phone into. It harnesses the power of the lenses and gives you extra stops and ability to focus, and do all these different shots. So we use that, and then got some really cool editing software that was recommended to me that they actually edit the Star Wars stuff on.
Yeah.
And so we do it ourselves. We just film them and edit them and put them out.
Very cool. And costumes as well. I take, like in your video of the wolf, I love the different costumes and stuff. I take it you all make your own stuff there as well.
We do. We have a seamstress. Her name's Samantha Wiseman. She's amazing. She's actually working on costumes right now. I just texted her for the next video and new costumes for me for stage. She's absolutely amazing. She was actually the wolf in the wolf video.
Okay.
That's
cool.
her hand. She's amazing.
Her and road manager.
Yeah.
They hatch those plans and build the art, all the stuff that we wear. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I want to jump into a few tracks on the album. I've listened to it. I made a few notes on some. Track 1, Crossing Over, just a real solid opener. We talked about the video. I love the very cool video. And I'm hearing like, I like the voices whispering on the intro and the outro. I thought that was pretty cool. And
Thank you.
I'm also hearing a lot of vocal tracks on that. Am I hearing that correctly? I mean, like layers and layers of vocals.
Yes. Especially on the end part there. And that was Sam's idea, which it was brilliant because yeah, it needed that. The whole idea of that first song is like we're now in the underworld. So literally crossing over, like kind of disassembling from your physical body and being on the other side, if you will, is kind of the concept of the song. And we're there to fight Hades.
Yeah, the first album introduces you to the band and kind of gives you the basic story of what's happening, and then the second album picks up at the end of the first album. It's Through the Styx. You're crossing over the river Styx.
Yes.
And then crossing over, it starts.
Yeah.
Just to kind of make it linear. And
Sure.
yeah, it was we had a lot of fun making the album. The plan for the album was for it to come out in 2020. And we had it all. We were recording and working on it for a year since we returned from our European tour in like August of 2019.
Yep.
And we dove right into the second album, while still playing one-off shows. But we were really spending. We have a studio in another part of the house here. We have a recording studio that we built, and we're recording it. And then COVID hit and kind of shut us down. And then we had a little bit of a personnel change. Our guitar players decided that, due to COVID and due to all the changes in the world, the touring on our heavy schedule, which we hopefully are getting back to, wasn't going to be for them. So they left, and then you enter Julian Yeager, our new guitar player. Yeah. So we re-recorded the record from scratch to really just. So it was interesting that the first version of it became the demo.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was neat. It was labor intensive, but it really allowed you hear all those voices and hear those things. It gave us a lot of time to produce and listen and capture really good performances. So there's a lot going on that track.
Yeah, the whispering on the intro and the outro, are those like actual? It almost sounds like what you spoke, then you put into reverse, or were you just making sounds? Or
that's exactly what it is. You hit the nail on the head there. It's me, and took it and reversed it, and that's what came out, and it was just really cool. So we decided to use it because it sounds like that, like you're not really sure what I'm saying, and
it's
trippy.
It's not even from that song.
No, it's from
another song, and
I forget. I know. I just can't
like
think
36
of it.
songs for the album. So
wow.
Yeah, so I started like playing around with ideas, and I can't remember where I took it from.
I know. I'm trying to think now too.
But
I know it. I just
it's
can't.
It's an unreleased song, but anyway, I thought it was really neat, and then I reversed it and slowed it down and added some back. And just was like, this really got like a demonic vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Track 3, Prophet, is that is a heavy track, but musically with everything. But then Maggie, your melody on the vocals is awesome. You've got this melodic vocal with this real heavy track. And if I read right, CM, you do the bulk of the music, but then Maggie, you do like the melodies and the lyrics.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about how that heaviness and that melody came together on that track. That's awesome.
Honestly, CM, he was like, I'd love to do like an Avenged Sevenfold thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So the music's going to be really fast and I need to sing in like halftime almost. And he's like, yes, exactly that. So we wanted to do like something like thrashy and have like that heavy element, like a little bit of everything. We're in the underworld, like get heavier and kind of pull in like the metal. And, so he handed me the track and I was like, I kind of almost knew exactly what to do with it. I had the lyrics for The Prophet and I felt like it was going to be a mouthful, but because I could break it down into halftime, it actually wound up just like fitting perfectly with the music.
And that song live is brutal.
I sing it just from the album. Yeah,
it's a great. It was, and it was again a little bit of a departure. The first album is a little more hard rock with elements of metal. This album we feel like is more straightforward metal.
Yeah,
with some
rock elements.
Yeah.
And then Ted, our drummer, is just.
Oh, he's epic. His feet are ridiculous.
If you listen to the second or one of the, I can't think of where it ended up on the album. Down.
Yeah.
There's death metal blast beats, like 16th note blast beats.
Yeah.
And the guy is just the craziest drummer in the world. And when we brought in the Prophet and handed him the BPM and he just tore the track apart.
First album was sort of your Cowboys from Hell. This is more your Great Southern Trendkill, right?
I would
yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Prophet was heavy. Then you followed up with Upon My Life. My note here says ferocious. That's just a ferocious track, in your face.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Down, and what I liked on that is the vocals through and the sound through the verse was almost, I've got militaristic, but I think I want to go with staccato maybe. But then on the chorus, it almost is like, to my ears, this is just to my ears, it goes almost into like psychedelia,
Oh, very cool. No, that's an interesting perception of it.
Yeah. But I like the blend.
That's I love Korn. And he has this thing that he does with his voice. He changes it to like how he's feeling. And that song has definitely got like the psycho element in the pre-chorus.
Yeah.
And then the build to that big, like what you're calling psychedelic sort of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an emotional song.
It's the first track I ever used an 808 on.
Yeah.
So when that big drop comes up, boom, boom. It's the first sense of electronic I've ever put into a metal song. So we playing with genre and playing with tunings, and that's it's an A, so it's super low.
I wanted people to be able to feel my emotion in that as far as the lyrics go and what I'm saying, because I'm a little bit crazy there in the. Again, live it's a lot more intense too, because I think the down parts are kind of pretty on the album, but live I scream them.
Very cool.
Do an hour show, sometimes an hour and a half, but when we do the hour, I don't know how you make it through vocally without shredding your voice.
That's why I feel like I'm kind of hoarse right now because we just rehearsed. But
track 6, we mentioned this one a little bit with the video with the silence. This was sort of my intro to the band. I'll throw out, I got an email from Zach at Metal Devastation, who was one of the people promoting you guys, and this is where I sort of got introduced to you guys a couple days ago, and I immediately found Maggie on Facebook and like, hey, can you do an interview? Great look on that in the video, and I love the whole atmospheric that we haven't really talked about. This is sort of an atmospheric song that I really, really liked as well. This is a great track, and I understand you're into like Native American face painting and stuff, and I see a lot of that come in this video.
It's like a Viking inspiration sort of. I mean, I kind of did more of the Native American sort of theme when I was wearing a lot of the red.
Okay.
But war paint is basically the focus. I'm really always been into mythology and Greek and Norse and Vikings and sirens, that kind of thing, and I wanted to bring that into the band with the makeup. I think it really makes us, and it just brings in like a heavy element.
Yeah, the war paint really plays up. It's an interesting kind of, it really
theater aspect.
Brings a theater aspect to it, and it was they were protesting over in Russia.
In Ukraine.
In Ukraine, sorry, I guess Ukraine. And some of our fans, they all painted their face like her.
Yeah, they had like I got an email from one of the guys over there, and he's like, "They're wearing your war paint." I was like, "That's awesome." They were
locked arm wearing the Sirens war paint.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah,
it was really freaky.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I was like, "What?" I was like, "Wow, yeah, we're gonna get shot next time we do this." But yeah, it's and each album, conscious or unconscious, we change the look a little bit.
It evolves. As the band does.
The storyline is. So this one's the battle one, and it's everyone's in a darker mode.
Yes.
Darker darker outfits, and it's you got to come out and see it live if you're in wherever the tour is hitting. If not, the rest of the year we'll be getting out there. But it's an intense step up.
Definitely. Track 8, Take Me Alive. Here's what jumped out at me on that. I loved the spoken word part. And then Julian lays down, I'm a guitar solo guy, lays down a killer guitar solo right after that spoken word part. And then on the outro, Ted's drums, I could really hear them through my earphones. I thought he was amazing on the outro to that one. Great track.
Thank you.
How did the spoken word part come about? I'm a sucker for that every time in a song as well.
It was, to me, it was like it's an epic point in the song, and I wanted that kind of reaction, like almost like everything stops, and can you hear what I say? And the God spoke around, the spirit you seek in the water is a reflection of yourself. And I don't know, it just felt really, really powerful to me. And CM said, he's like, you should speak it.
Yeah.
He's like, don't sing it, speak it. And I was like, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
And like, it stops everything.
That track was an interesting track because it was, I call it consistently the song I never wanted to write.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
It ended up it was done during demos for the songs of the Siren, and we were working on it, and it just was an idea. And I was like, I don't really like it. And then the rest of the band's like, you got in your mind, we got to do this. And it got built into this epic, 3 movement.
Yes.
Song.
3 movements. Yeah.
And it was originally designed for a dual guitar, almost Judas Priest type thing.
Yes.
Yep.
Kind of shifted back to a 1 guitar band. And so this heavy mantle of, hey, here's a huge solo section was placed on,
Julian's
the Jaeger.
The Jaeger.
was put on his shoulders. And let me tell you, he took it away and he came back into the studio and just destroyed it. He just did so well.
Yeah.
Brilliant guitar player, great musician, great ear, and really understood like how to make the movements work. So I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. And
yeah, definitely.
It really is a shining moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is, the solo was absolutely brilliant. That I thought. Excellent stuff. Please pass along my compliments on it. Track 10, The Storm, my favorite track of all, and it was hard to pick just one, but this was my favorite, was The Storm. I love the way the vocal and the music went together. I thought it was an amazingly powerful song.
Thank you. Thank you. That's interesting to hear that that's your favorite. I love hearing, what people are drawn to. So we knew that was going to be a powerful song. Again, that's like definitely a fighting song and owning yourself, and
yes,
great swing to it. So I knew it would be kind of catchy. And I call that my Lizzie Hale song. Like kind of ripping off of her a little bit there as far as the way it goes.
We're wearing our influence, but this album, I really feel like we decided to wear it on our sleeves.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Each song kind of has a little nod, either very obviously or not so obviously, to a certain artist that inspired us.
Yes.
In life or in just music and whatnot. So there's a little Korn, you get a little Hailstorm.
Yep.
You get, a little Metallica, you get
Slipknot.
we kind of just reached, you know, each member of the band kind of brought their influence to the table, and we just put it in. The Storm definitely for us was a hard rock song.
Yeah.
I think it's the only appearance of a B3 Hammond on our album. So that's pretty. Yeah, and that was, we just kind of went for it. You know?
Yeah, that's a fun song.
We just said it's a rock song. You know what we're do? We're just gonna own the shit out of it.
Yep.
So let's do it.
Yeah, killer track. Down to track 12 now, Falling, last song. I give every album my last song test. I say, are they trying as hard on the last song as they did on the first song? And you guys passed with flying colors.
Thank you.
This was a great track. And what I gotta ask is, there's an instrument there that I hear throughout, particularly on the intro and stuff. Is that a guitar or some keys or something that's making that sort of descending sound? I felt like I was literally falling when I heard it.
That's awesome.
It's a 7-string guitar.
Yep.
That track was written.
It's a super personal track.
It's a super personal track, and it was. I get a lot of guitars shipped to me that I try out, and that was a Jackson 7-string.
I remember that night.
Yeah, it just kind of showed up, and Jackson had sent it. They had sent it along with the bass, the J basses that I'm using now on tour, and I went in the studio with it, and that song came out like water.
He was playing, and I heard him, and I came in, and I was like, I have lyrics for that. He's like, are you serious? He's like, I don't even know if I like this yet. And I was like, you're joking, right? And I was like, keep playing. And then I helped him with that one part. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, it's the chorus.
Yeah, okay. So there's like a part in the chorus that like I did the Ozzy thing and I hummed it for him. And he played it, but it was seamless.
And that's the original version. And then so what happened was we signed a deal with Revulsion of Spirit Records and Universal towards the end of the making of the album, and they brought in David Ivory, who's a producer who's worked with Hailstorm and Erykah Badu and all kinds of the Roots, a variety, but he's worked with a lot of hard rock acts. So we ended up going out to his studio, I guess in Conshohocken.
It's
Yeah.
Plymouth Meeting.
Yeah, Plymouth Meeting,
Something like
Conshohocken.
that, yeah.
So David came in and he did some sessions with us here and worked on a few songs, and Fallen was one of the songs that he picked. So the version that ended up on the album, it was not dramatically changed, but it was changed. And it was our first experience working with an outside producer and like a name producer.
Yeah.
So that was kind of his collaboration with us. And it was fun because I guess in the world of rock, things move slow. We don't do that. So he came in, he said, I think we should do this and let's try that. We came up with an arrangement, and the next day we handed him the arrangement fully recorded, and he went, what? I'm like, this is it. This is the track. And he's like,
you guys are done already?
How did you guys do that? It's like, went into the studio. This is how we roll, man.
Yeah.
This is, and so yeah, that track, it's got a lot of interesting instrumentation on it. It's 7-string guitars and different tunings. I think there is a little bit of keys on there, but
I think
synthesizer. We used a couple different synthesizers. Yeah. But on was
that's a suicide awareness song. That's basically the lyrical content of that song too. That's very to my heart. A good friend of mine was really struggling, and I was talking to him, and I wrote the lyrics, and it just kind of poured out of me. And then I had the lyrics, and as soon as I heard CM playing, it just poured out. It was just,
this one was the version was done in a day.
In a day, yeah.
Wow. The other thing I thought that gave it a lot of power was, Maggie, the way at the very end, that last line, there's like, it's almost like a cappella, the last line. I thought that was a killer ending to an album.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And if you're interested in that, there's actually on our YouTube, there's an in studio of us working on Fallen in our studio, and then also at David's studio. So there's a couple like behind the scene type thing. Nice. People that want to that see how some of it was created.
I think that's fascinating as well. I was going to come up with that. You guys have a ton of content on your YouTube channel, videos, and like you say, behind the scenes stuff. And I think it's fascinating for non-musicians like myself, you know, I never had the discipline to sit down and learn an instrument. I was always good at playing CDs and talking, so that's what I did, you know. I think it's fascinating to see how parts come together, and I think it's very cool that you guys do that. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun when we're working, so it's never a dull moment. We, you know, everyone's real professional and brings in a great attitude. Like, we leave the egos at the door.
Oh yeah, I can't handle any of that.
So it's easy to behind the scenes stuff because everybody's just we you know, we don't. It's not a doom and gloom type situation. Everyone's happy and very focused. Ted, like,
yeah, Ted's the man.
He's our music, keeps us on track.
Why don't I get each of you individually for a moment? I'll start with you, CM. I try to, you know, do a ton of research and find out what you've done in your past. If some of this stuff is correct, what I've heard, I found it on the internet, so it's got to be right. You were always more sort of like a straight rock. You were in a band called Down Division in the 90s. Was one of your bands? Is that correct there?
I was in Down Division, the 90s. For most of the 90s, I toured in Down Division, and I that was like pop punk, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Before that, Bass Crime was they were based originally out of Canada, kind of a voivod type thing. And then, yeah, that was it for the large part of the 90s.
What got you into, where was your moment where it was like, music is what I want to do, and what drew you to bass as opposed to anything else?
I was a late bloomer. I started playing bass at 8 years old.
Okay. Very.
Oh, there was where I grew up in Northeast Philly, right in my neighborhood is where Cinderella, Britney, Anvil Bitch, a lot of bands that kind of were the Philly scene, Heaven's Edge, like that whole scene was happening. So you could go every block on these row homes and like you'd hear garage bands. And just a couple doors down from where I grew up, there was a family band, and I think their actually last name was Mars. And they let me come in and just hang out with them as an annoying 8-year-old kid who the hell wants that around. And I was sitting on, and literally it moved my pants. Like, I was like, whoa, what is this? And the fascination began. That's been a lifelong, you know, passion of learning the instrument from the ground up, going to Settlement School of Music and Berkeley and learning. It fascinates me, you know, to hear different players like Jaco Pastorius, and, you know, I'm into the Cliff Burton. I call him the Cliff Burton from Metallica and AC/DC, two very different ends of it, but both hold it down like monsters. So yeah, I just love.
I saw a post you threw up on your Facebook page for John Paul Jones as well, and Through the Outdoor was a big album for you.
That album, it was, I guess, my sister got it. I had an older sister who introduced me to them, and of course, she introduced me to the greatest album and band ever, Supertramp, Breakfast in America.
Yep.
Love Supertramp.
That's another story. But Into the Outdoor is an interesting, if you don't know really the background of it, it's the first Zeppelin album that Zeppelin were not in the studio together ever, not one time. And it's 99.9%. It's John Paul Jones on a 12-string bass, 4-string bass, a Fender 6-string bass, and then his keyboard. There's very little guitar on the album. And not even knowing that when I was a kid, I was just drawn to this album.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't deny Full Rain, and you can't deny In the Evening. And yeah. It's just
very cool.
What an album.
It's funny you mentioned Supertramp. I was just talking to a guy at work the other day. We talk about music all the time, and I'm, you know, one band I've always been into is Supertramp. You know, they were a little different, but I loved their stuff, and every album was almost different with those guys, you know?
Yeah, English blues. And I mean, if you were growing up in the early 80s in America, you couldn't escape Breakfast in America.
No. Yeah, I remember that one well.
Oh my God, that album, recorded out at Crystal Recording Studios, which became Barefoot Recording later, or Valentine's Place out in, on Sunset. One of the best studios, and that's where Songs in the Key of Life were recorded, Stevie Wonder, and it's just like all this magic that happened there, and that album came out of there.
Yeah,
and I can listen to it today, and I think it just holds up end to end as one of the best albums ever recorded.
Absolutely. Now you've also got into like producing and mixing. You know, you've talked a lot about that. How did you get into that? Trial and error, watching? Did you take some classes on it, or just total experimentation?
When you're in a professional band, you have a ton of time on your hands, and you know, it's the devil's hands if you don't fill that time with something. So I was lucky enough to know a lot of guys that had recording studios in Philadelphia, like Mike Tarsia and Joe Nicola, the Butcher Brothers, and these guys. And then when I went to LA, we were recording in some big studios. So I literally, to fill my spare time, would knock on the door and say, like, do you have work? Like, can I come in and sweep the floor, man, just to be around it? Another kind of passion. It wasn't just how do you play the instrument. It was how do they make these great records? And so I was lucky to get mentored by some really great producers and engineers and learn from the ground up, and also to learn on tape before the flow tools. This is what we used to call it. Yeah, it's just been a passion my whole life.
Very cool. Maggie, your turn now. I understand you sort of grew up in DC before gravitating out to Pennsylvania, and your dad was a musician. You came from a theater background. You've been in music literally your entire life.
Yes, my entire life. Yeah. So my dad played in a band when I was a kid, and my brother and I would always go to band practice with him. And I think that's kind of where I pretty much fell in love with music. I grew up on Led Zeppelin and Janis Joplin and, AC/DC and all that kind of stuff, but I was always around music, and I've been on stage since I was 4 years old, singing and theater, anything musical. I mean, I was even, believe it or not, I was even in church choir and sang, O Holy Night every year for Christmas. And so anything musical, I've just kind of always been involved in it. My first band, I was 15, and, as many 15-year-olds didn't really go or do much, but we had fun. And ever since then, I've been in the band scene itself, but theater in school was a huge influence on me, so that's kind of where the theater gets pulled into the aspect of this band. Sure. I love it. I can't stand still on stage. I don't know how to just stand in front of a microphone. It's weird.
With singing, did you ever take any lessons or anything, or did everything just come naturally?
Yes. I've taken lessons before. Unfortunately, just 2 hours from my vocal coach at this point, so it's just too far to drive. But I was trained, believe it or not, operatically and classically for a while, and I mean, I kind of never stopped learning. I've always had somebody in my life, like a coach, or whether it was my dad helping me, or my dad played guitar and piano and I'd sing to that, or now I'm working with David Ivory. That's fun. He's hilarious. Yeah, he loves working on Vocalist with me, because that's definitely a weakness of mine. Different jumping octaves, and only moving up a third and a half step instead of a full step. I have a tendency to just like want to jump. But so music has really always been in my life, and I can't really see my life without it.
Yeah. You mentioned Ginger is a band that you liked. I want to toss out a couple others. I'm sure you've heard of these bands, but I won't toss them out anyway, just to get your thoughts. Unleash the Archers, Brittany Slays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've actually gotten compared to them a few times, which is interesting. Like, oh, thank you. It's a compliment.
And the other band I've watched the video for Incinerate so many times is Semblant.
I don't know if I've ever seen Semblant. No, that's a new one for me.
Yeah.
You'll have to. Yeah.
You'll have go on YouTube. The band it's Semblant, Semblant, and the song is called Incinerate. Fabulous stuff.
Nice. Yeah. I will definitely check them out.
Old school, we turned on the bands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I understand. You also sat next to DJ Kool at a P-Funk show when you were growing up.
Oh my! Where did you hear that? That is a true story, actually. That's thanks to my dad. My dad works at American University in DC for 40 years now. And yeah, I did. I sat right next to DJ Kool at a P-Funk concert. President Clinton, playing Flashlight, and DJ Kool had opened the show, and I was so excited, and I couldn't believe it. He had on his army print pants and his Redskins jersey, and I can still remember the way he smells. Like, That's crazy because you're talking like 1996 maybe. But yeah, you can that right next to me. That's really funny that you brought that up. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's cool. Very cool. Now you two met, I understand. CM was doing a radio show and had bands come in and play live, and you came in with a band. And CM, you automatically knew this was the voice you were looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it was like being hit by lightning.
But yet it took you a while to get the official collaboration going, like 3 years or so?
Yeah, I was in another band, and then what actually happened was I got fired from that band. Because I wasn't the sound he was looking for. He was looking for a like a Dio sort of, and I just didn't cut it for him, which is totally fine. I learned a lot from that experience. And I got a call from CM, and his famous line to me is, "Are you still alive?" Like, yeah, I'm alive. And he threw a band at me. And he's like, "Oh, I've got this perfect band for you." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, I have a condition." And he's like, "What's that?" I was like, "You have to play bass." And he's like, "Oh, are you serious?" I'm like, "I'm serious." I was like, I'll be in the band, but you have to play.
At that time, I was only producing.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question. What was CM's role going to be?
Bass player, because he was running his label at the time and producing other bands, other local bands that he knew. And I always wanted to work with him. So I was like, "Well, I'll do it, but you have to too."
Yeah.
And they were actually in between. They weren't sure if their bass player was going to stay. They were kind of having a change of hands there as well. So it kind of worked out.
We were tracking a record, and I agreed to play. I'm a studio bass player from time to time too. Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none.
Sure.
But so I'd agreed to be the studio bass player, and then the singer didn't work out. And I knew Maggie was just fabulous. And I pitched him to the band and the management. I said, "I think this is going to be your vocalist. And then, when you get your bass player, you'll have a great band." And so I called her, and that was her condition to them, was he has to stay on, which, didn't thrill me much.
But you're probably glad you did now.
We just had this conversation the other day during production where I had been in several bands from 2000 to, at that time, I guess 2014, touring bands, Cottonmouth the End, a band called 12 Horse, another band called, 1,000 Gods. And I'd been in these different project and touring bands, but I had the road had beaten me up. So I was done being a road dog. I was like, I had a nice studio in Rockledge, Pennsylvania. And I just decided this is what I want to do. And then, along comes Maggie and this band. So I ended up going out on tour with them. And while we were touring, we started having these conversations that while this was a good band, it wasn't the best thing for her voice. And then musically, we knew we could take it somewhere else. And then the other, I have nothing against a band that gets on stage and just rocks out. It's awesome. Yeah. But we really thought that there should be a theatrical element.
Yeah, that's my
and
influence.
Give people more for their money.
Yep.
And so, decision at the end of the tour cycle to form Illusions of Grandeur, and we stepped out, and that's been a wild ride ever since.
Yeah, the theatrical element is so cool that you guys bring, and I've seen a little bit of your, the live stuff here and there on YouTube and stuff. Because I remember seeing Alice Cooper back in January of '88 with Motorhead opening, no less. We didn't have a whole lot left after Motorhead.
That was the Poison tour, right, or something like that.
Yeah. But Cooper was, when I got done, I'm like, I don't know if I've seen a concert or a play or a magic show or what. I'm like, that blew my mind.
Yep. That's where there's kind of like something for everyone.
Yeah. He would do stuff on stage. We're like, what the hell did I just see?
And let me tell you, Ryan Roxy is his guitar player. I think the last time I saw all of them was they're opening for Crew in 2014 or 2015.
Yes.
And oh my God, someone who just holds up
to this day.
To this day,
yeah.
Never he never goes at half speed. what an amazing songwriter, performer, person, just one of the people you'll ever meet. And I tell you, I wish we could get some comparisons to that.
Definitely.
We're working on
it.
Yeah. I mean, I saw him open for Crew as well on that tour, and I thought he was phenomenal, just phenomenal still, very, very cool. The other thing I liked about, and you guys have talked about this in past interviews, I just want to bring up one other thing to compare about how the songs on this album flow, and it's a concept and everything, but yet you can take songs out and listen to them individually as well. And an album that I always compare with that is A Crimson Idol by Wasp.
Oh, nice.
That's an album where you can listen to the Idol, or you can listen to, one of the other tunes on it, but yet put it back in and have it all flow together. And I really like that about this album as well.
Thank you.
It was super important that, because I call it levels of fandom or levels of fans. We have some fans that they know what every song's about and who's every character and every plot twist and all that. And then you have a casual listener, someone who just might hear a Silence, or from the first album, Silent Suicide, or hear, Breathe from the first album, or The Storm from this album. And it's just a good song. And while it's got a story on the album, it's just a good song. And I always liken it to The Who, Pinball Wizard. Every interview I'll say that. You can listen to Pinball Wizard, you're like, that's a badass track. But in the story of Tommy, it's the crux of the story. So we wanted, it was super.
That was important to me. Yeah.
And it's very difficult to do.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of double entendres. It's a lot of, having personal underlying thoughts in a story that also have elements of some sort of fantasy realm, Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stepped on your words, as my daughter says.
That's okay. No worries.
How much work went into the sequencing of this album? Did it come together fairly easily, or did you kind of sit there and really kind of work at it?
No, this one actually came together kind of easily. I think the first one was a little harder to put together than this one as far as the sequence went.
Yeah. It was a little bit easier. We just kind of guided the song, and we knew this song's going to be about that. This, let's work on this. And then I had a lot of time, of course, to write music. And like I said, we started out kind of with about 36 songs.
Yeah.
And pared it down, some of it because of time, because we got caught up at the end. So the sequence of this album just fell together very easily, knock on wood.
Now, this is part 2 of a 3-part saga. Is part 3, anything been done on that yet, or that's still a work in progress, or working on this?
Heavily working on it. I think we have 6 songs kind of ready to be,
there's 6
re-recorded.
Songs, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then there's about another, I have 8 things written, and then today Julian was showing us some of the ideas, and we're in the tracking process of it. And
I laid some vocals the other night.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And we'll be touring, and then when we're not touring, all our time will be devoted to the third part, The Siren Rises. And I compare it, and it's an easy thing to compare to Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
It's kind of number 1, number 2, number 3, and then we'll let you know where the story is going to go. Yeah. It's just one of those things. We'll be working on it for the next 2 years, I'm sure, while we're touring this album. So we're always doing something. We like to keep ourselves busy.
There's the old adage of the first album comes easy because you've waited your entire life to make your first album. The second album's always a little bit harder. That doesn't sound like it's been the case with you guys. You guys are almost 3 albums in, and you're still, going strong.
Yeah, not at all for us. I mean, first of all, I think a big key is we are always writing. Sam's always writing music. I'm always writing lyrics. The first album for us was, we re-recorded it 4 times, I believe. We had a system crash in the mix there. We had so many personnel changes, we completely lost the album. It got to the point where I was sort of fried on it. It's kind of funny too, because these guys even look at me and they're like, hey, maybe later we'll re-record the first album. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill you guys.
Well, it was to the album, giving birth to the band, and we wanted it to be right.
Yes.
So we had put a single out, 2 singles, Breathe and Silent Suicide, early versions of them in 2017. and we had written the album, and maybe in a hard-nosed studio guy, we got this house out here in Lancaster on this farm, and I made this kind of decision that we're going to record the entire album at the house, and that's how we create this. This is going to be on our own terms in our own studio. So I don't know, if anyone out there has been involved in the process of building a studio. It's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right. So that process took a while. And then we kind of had, because of our tour schedule, we had a little bit of a revolving door of musicians. It was kind of growing pains. I compare it to when they talk about it, the Foo Fighters talk about it back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of bands go through this in private before they ever are known. So we were lucky enough that we had great friends and people that, supported us, like Tony Dolan from Venom Inc., good friend of ours.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy.
Like they're guiding us through and kind of finding people, and we landed
finding the right people.
Yeah. Right now this is the band. So yeah, the first album was like giving birth. It was the recording process and how do we want to do this, and so the second album, when we came into that, we
were like ready for it.
We were
really ready for it.
Yeah, the systems were all in place and everything was.
We were all better at what we were doing too, I would say.
Yeah,
creatively, and
we had come up with a way of writing that was a little bit more militant. Is a good word for it. Like I do full demos. Like the bed tracks of the album are my demos.
Yeah, he'll put all the music and everything together, and then I'll lay lyrics on it, and then we give it to the guys, so they know exactly what it's not gonna sound like, but what we're going for, and then
almost kind of like an assembly line type thing.
Yeah,
a little bit of creative assembly line, but it's interesting, especially when you hand it to Ted and Julian, because sometimes what they bring back.
It's not what you're expecting.
I'm like, what the hell is that?
In a good way.
In a great way.
Ted surprised me a few times. Like he slowed the Wolf, actually, specifically. He completely slowed it down and pulled everybody out. He's like, what if I just drum while she sings? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea. I would have never thought of that. So yeah, it's really interesting to see creatively what they do with it. And it makes it better.
I always jump to Down, of course, because
Down is like that as well.
Phenomenal death metal drummer.
Yeah.
And when he came back with that track and said, "This is what we're doing," blast beat.
We both looked at each other like, wait, what?
But it worked.
It does. It totally works.
So they get their creative strides in there. And now as we head into the Siren Rises, we have another writer kind of coming on a little bit, Julian, and the producer. So all the aspects of the team are even further lining up. So I have a lot of high hopes for the album.
All right. Sounds like I'm looking forward to that one already. I want to point people to www.iogmusic.com, where you can check out the band and in particular all your merch and stuff. You got some great t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags and everything on there, and a fabulous section on the band and everything as well. So wanted to point that out. And they can order the CDs through there as well, correct?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
I always like to end interviews with sort of just some fun, silly questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked before. Sound good?
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll go ladies first. Maggie, given your choice of household chores, do you prefer dishes or laundry?
That's a good one. I don't know. I kind of hate both of them. Actually, I'm gonna go with laundry because dishes are a bitch.
All right.
I'd rather laundry. I can sit on the couch and fold laundry. Dishes, I have to get my hands all wet.
All right. CM, dishes or laundry?
Oh, dishes.
Dishes. I think it's a guy thing. I'd rather do dishes myself. If I can be out there and I can have my Echo Dot playing some music and nobody else is around, I kind of go into this little Zen moment and you just do the dishes. CM, first car you bought with your own money?
That would be an AMC Spirit, which I say AMC stood for all my cash.
Yes, I remember those cars well. How about you, Maggie?
Hyundai Tiburon. They don't even make them anymore. Okay. They don't make the
for that.
Yeah, there is a reason for that.
Maggie, last music you listened to other than your own?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to say Slipknot on a run the other morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
CM, how about you?
Oh my God.
I listen to so much music.
I listen to a real wide variety of music. Other than I just did Into the Outdoor, the entire album front to back.
You did, yeah.
Just so
nice. CM, favorite toy growing up as a child?
Oh my God. I had a childhood record player and I had 2 records, Bugs Bunny Goes to the Moon and a Beatles song, which I can't recall the name of it, like 245. Favorite toy.
Very cool. Maggie, how about you? Favorite toy growing up as a child?
I was a dress up queen. Imagine that. So I'm gonna have my silver tutu and matching hat.
There you go. Maggie, if you could pick a television show to have an Illusions of Grandeur song placed in, what song would you pick?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I think Crossing Over could be really cool in something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dexter. So I don't know. I see something, a zombie movie or something, or maybe there is a Siren Saga, isn't there? I've never actually seen it. Shame on me. Yeah,
it got canceled.
I'm gonna
CM, what's that?
Crossing Over.
Crossing Over. How about you, CM?
I would definitely. I think I would pick Upon My Life, and I would. I put that in. You know what? I think there's some. I can't think of the name of the goddamn show. The Expanse. I think it is. It's on HBO. It's definitely. I think Dexter, would that be cool?
Yeah, Dexter would be cool.
The new Dexter, New Blood. That would be awesome to hear. And I know there's so many great, like when we're on the road, we're sitcom like fanatics. Like, we rewatched 30 Rock and Community and just
iZombie.
iZombie.
I love iZombie.
I love that freaking shit.
Very cool. Last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make, and I'll go. Let's see, I'm go first on this one. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you pick to play you? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Jack Black.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, I love that. You suck. You went so fast. Like I have.
I was gonna say this will give Maggie time to think.
Yeah. That time to think too.
So what I would have to do is it would have to be a split role. So Jared Leto would have to play me younger.
Okay. True.
Jack
White in the later years. Okay. Maggie, how about you?
That is a really tough question. To play me in my life.
This was like a late night into the between hours recording session conversation.
It is totally.
One night we had.
Hit me. Who do you have? Who do you think?
Oh my God. To play you.
To play me.
I remember I'm really bad with actresses.
So am I actually.
I don't know. Hang on.
We're Googling. Hold on.
I know.
I'm like, actually better with men actors.
With some of the pictures I see of you when your hair is like really big,
I
think of like Julia Roberts to me.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay. I could see that.
Julia Roberts, maybe Natalie Portman.
Yes.
Emma Stone.
Yeah, I could see Emma Stone.
Yeah. Yep.
More.
Natalie Portman. Yeah.
Yeah. All good choices. So guys, this has been a hoot. I hope you have fun. Was there any questions I didn't ask? Anything you wanted to talk about that you didn't get to through the course of this interview? The floor is yours.
No, great job. Thanks for having us on the show. And just encourage everyone on this tour that's starting on the 13th out in Akron, Ohio. Please don't be afraid to come out and see the band live.
Yeah, come say hi to us.
Come say hi to us at the merch table.
Yep.
And come out and hang out with us and have a drink or whatever, have something to eat or whatever.
I'm not as scary as I look on stage.
And
I was gonna say very fan friendly from some of the posts I've seen on Facebook, and yeah, absolutely. Don't let the costumes deceive you.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No.
Don't,
Cool.
you know,
The persona.
we're very conscious of this new realm we're in. So we're, we mask up and do all the things that are, asked. And so we encourage fans to come and hang out with us. And, just come out and support local music. There's some great opening acts
Yeah, absolutely.
on this tour, at each stop.
Favorite band, the local band at one point.
And yeah, so please, if you're hearing this and you see the tour dates, go to IOG.com and just come out and hang out. That's the most encouraging thing we can ask.
That's awesome. I wish you best wishes and good luck on this tour. And may every night be a sellout and everybody stays healthy, and it just leads to greater and greater things for Illusions of Grandeur. And I hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Lance. We really appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.